at a certain point when my mom was 9 months pregnant with me, we got kicked out of the place we were at because there's like family drama with my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't talk anymore. Like we used to. Like we used to.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast, Talk with the Gym Freak. We got a special guest today, Serge. Thank you for coming out, Serge.
Yeah, no problem, dude. No problem. I'm excited to be here with you, sitting down. I get to see your apartment. Looks great.
It is
different.
Awesome. It is different.
Yes, very different, but very chill, very calm, and I'm excited to do this podcast.
For sure. Let's jump straight into it. So you are not an American. Are you an American citizen, or were you born here, or how? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I was born in California.
Okay.
I was born in East Los Angeles, California, East LA County, in a city called Montebello, which is actually where Oscar de la Hoya was born. So I was born out there. I lived there till I was 11, and then I moved out here to Chicago, and then I lived in Chicago ever since.
Okay.
But my parents came over from Mexico, basically when I was in my mother's belly. So yeah, 9 months. We were out there in California. She had me, and then we stayed out there for a bit. So that was kind of the beginning for us. And then my brother was born, and then we moved out here.
Okay. What made you guys move out here?
We moved out here because of job opportunities. Of course, with my parents, they had to be very specific about where they worked and where they were allowed to work. So the opportunity came up in the Chicagoland area to kind of for my dad to work out here. But also, truth be told, there was some like family dynamics at home.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather not get like too far into it, but long story short, my mother kind of gave my father an ultimatum, and mind you, this was a woman who spoke no English, had no driver's license, had no job, depended 100% on my father. But she gave him an ultimatum like, hey, you got to shape up, or you're never going to see your kids again. So she just took us from California over to Chicago. We lived with my uncle, and my dad made the decision to work on his family, and we did some therapy stuff together as a family, and now we're stronger, better than ever.
Hey, that's what it's all about sometimes. So your childhood, you went through, basically, as you're talking about it, you went through a couple of patches.
Right.
Do you think those difficult times of you growing up led you to the man who you are today?
Absolutely.
Do you regret anything? Do you wish anything changed? Do you wish you never came here?
No, I'm really glad that I came here, and life has a funny way of working itself, because I was able to meet Jackie. If I had never moved out here, I would have never met Jackie. And I really do think that the struggle that we went through was a really good character builder for me, because when at a certain point when my mom was 9 months pregnant with me, we got kicked out of the place we were at because there's like family drama with my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, my parents got lucky. They knew somebody that by chance was a landlord and had an apartment. So they were like, hey, you know what, you could stay here while it's vacant. But we for a while we didn't really have a permanent place where we were living per se. I slept on the floor, that sort of thing. My brother went through the same thing. But, my parents treated me well. And we always had food on the table. My father was very attentive, very helpful. He always encouraged me to learn and to grow and to kind of really just experience a lot of different things. So my family was very caring. But, we definitely very much came from humble beginnings, and that was definitely very good character building for me. But when I moved out here, and I'm still trying to understand it as an adult, but it definitely had a lot of changes in me as a teenager. I suffered through depression, anxiety, and just a lot of things where I was trying to make a sense of, I think, everything that kind of had had happened in my life up to that point.
Okay.
So there was some struggle there because of all the things that I had to go through as a in my childhood. But now as an adult, I can better reflect. I can better understand, and especially now with a daughter, it really makes me see things differently, and it's kind of really like elevated me mentally, emotionally to that like next level maturity wise. Yeah,
let's,
for sure.
Let's jump into that since you brought that up. Having a daughter, meeting Jackie, how did all that come about? How did you meet Jackie? How did that relationship build up?
Yeah. So I met Jackie actually 15 years ago. This July.
So you guys been together for a long time.
Yeah, we've been together for a long time. I met her when she was 13. I think I was like, I'm about 2.5 years older, so I was like 15, 16, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of a funny story. But I met her at the Glendale Heights Summerfest, which is like a big festival they have every year. At the time, I lived in front of it. But I was just out there. I was just hanging out. And this like girl came up to me and she was like, I think you're really cute. I would like your number. And I was like, no, but I would like her number. And she was like the only girl all the way in the back, hiding. Like she hadn't even said a single word. And she was like, like she was kind of thrown off by it. But then the girls were like, no, give him your number. So she gave me her number, and like, I swear, like, every summer after that, it was always kind of me trying to be like, hey, you want to hang out? Hey, you want to hang out? And I think there were a few times that we hung out, but she really had zero interest in me. And, she right away, like, friend-zoned me, was like, yeah, I'm not so interested. And, to be honest, I could see why. I just wasn't really mature. It took me a long time to mature. But by the time where I was leaving the summer, I ended up finding a girlfriend, and during that time we kind of rebuilt our friendship, better said, which later then kind of turned into a relationship once I broke up with that girl. But she finally gave me a chance and was like, you know what, you've been very persistent all these years. I'll give you a chance, because the summer before that, we were really, really good friends, but she kept friend zoning me, and I was just devastated, and I kind of was just like, you know what, if we can't be dating, then I don't want to be friends, So I cut her off, but then life brought us back together, and the persistence paid off.
That's a great story. That's to never give up, even when it comes to relationships.
Yeah, and honestly, like I said, it was just my maturity. I was not mature, and I think there were a lot of times in the beginning, especially when she could have very well easily left me, and and I wouldn't have blamed her, because I just was not a very good person in some ways. And I think from like the age of 18 to 21, I struggled a lot with alcohol. So that didn't help. I did have some alcoholic habits that I was struggling with. But she really, really, really stuck with me through all of that, and I think she saw the potential in me, and like I really started growing in like strides over those next few years, and I'm glad she did, because now we're together. We've been together I think 11, 12 years now. And we have a daughter. So
your daughter, how did that change? Because everybody talks about having a boy and having a girl, and I feel like your life changes more when you have a baby girl.
Yes.
And they say you have a soft spot always as a father for your first baby girl. How did that change your life, having a baby girl, still having a business, and juggling all of life?
Yeah, well, it's funny, because everyone is always like, oh, I know you wanted a boy, and it's like, I actually wanted a girl. Actually, I think I want only girls. We'll see. But I think I've always gotten along better with the opposite gender. And my dad always wanted a little girl, and he only had boys, so that was kind of also part of it too, that I wanted to bring in a little girl that he could be excited about, my mother could be excited about, and it's just absolutely amazing. Like, every day is so just fun, and just seeing her, watching her grow, and like like I said, you start doing a lot of reflecting. You start really thinking about what is important in life. So when it came to my powerlifting, I spent all my 20s just completely prioritizing competing over everything else. I missed a lot of important life events, a lot of important memories that I could have made just to compete. And so now that I have a daughter, I'm like, you know what, like, yeah, I want to be serious about it. I want to, I still want to be strong. I still want to be active. I want to be an athlete, but it's not my only identity anymore. I have more in this world to care about, and now the important thing is my daughter. So we do everything with her, and at first it was very difficult for me to kind of like step away more from the gym, and I really struggled with that balance. And I think at one point it caused me kind of a little bout of depression, because I was like, I want to be home with my daughter and with Jackie, but then I feel guilty that I'm not at the gym. And then I'd be at the gym, it would just be like a vice versa situation where like I couldn't find that balance, So now it's kind of become like I'm a stay-at-home dad kind of thing with Jackie. But then, obviously I do a lot of the gym stuff remotely, and then I go in the evenings usually to make sure I'm there, because I really want to continue being a part of the community. And my fear was that would all get away from me. But honestly, like, I think we've grown bigger as a gym, and and I'm able to spend time with my daughter and my wife, and like that's a luxury that I think not a lot of people can enjoy. So every day I tell Jackie we have a lot to be grateful about, because even though it's sometimes stressful, I definitely do feel extremely lucky that I can literally see my daughter every day when she wakes up, and I can see her growing, and I can see all these little moments, because there's a lot of people that miss it. And especially in this country, we're a country that values work very, very highly, to the point where you got mothers that are being forced back to work 2-3 months after having a baby, which is just like insane, because a baby's a baby. They need that attention, they need that growth. So I'm really committing these next few years with her, especially to make sure that she has that attention, and she has what she needs from us as parents to like grow and thrive, and to be confident and independent as a woman one day, because I think that's going to be important right now.
That is very true.
Like I said, in this country, it sometimes gets away from us, and it's hard to. You work 9 to 5, you come home, you're tired, you still got to cook, blah blah blah. So we're definitely very lucky.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And people don't realize how important it is for young babies to have both their parents in that age of firstborn to at least 7-8 years old, because that's literally the growing phase of the baby. That's where the baby learns a lot of things, and if you're not there, you're not going to be able to teach the babies. And that's why I also feel like in our country we have so many issues with mental health, depression, all those things, because our parents always have to provide. And we are a country that is based off of everything needs money, and if we don't have money, you can't provide. So it's like you have a ultimatum, and usually the kids always get the bad end of the stick. It's really sad to see that, but it's a good thing that you have your business. We'll jump into that. So I never got to see the first Surge that you opened, and that's Surge to New Levels, and that's where I train now with the new one, the 12,000 square foot gym that you have now. That's probably the best powerlifting gym I've ever been to.
Thank you.
And I've been everywhere.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? Where did you start? How did that business mindset come? Did you go to school for business, or did it just come about where you just wanted to open up your own gym, have that vibe?
Well, funny enough, I didn't want to open a gym. All through college, I was like, I'm never going to open a gym. Like, I just don't really see myself doing that. I thought I was going to do something else. But then I graduated, and I was like, wow, they really kind of lied to us. Like, I thought I was going to graduate from the University of Illinois with all this experience, and, the world was going to be like, hey, come work for me. Like we need you, and literally it was like, nope. It was all like entry-level jobs at like LA Fitness, Export, corporate wellness.
What was your degree in?
It was in recreation and sport management.
Okay.
So it was actually kind of more or less in the genre or in the field of what I do now, and it actually did help a lot. But like I was kind of very thrown aback at first, because I was just like, wow, like I did so much in school. I was president of the powerlifting club, the bodybuilding club, this and that, and I'm struggling to find work. But I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, you know. Even as a kid, like I would just have these I always had these like ideas in my head, you know. And I used to like drawing. I was very creative when I was little, so I'm like, you know, I used to think in my head like, okay, well, if I draw these like little Pokemon sketches, I can sell them for 10 cents, you know, at the school. Maybe I could set up a little stand. I could ask the principal if that's cool.
That's
in
when
one
you
of
were
the
like
halls.
a teenager.
Elementary school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's always kind of been in me. But yeah, once I graduated college, after kind of trying to go into the field, I worked for LA Fitness for a bit, quit after a month. It was just a very toxic environment, didn't feel comfortable. Then I worked at an office setting for 6 months because they were trying to make me like an agent for insurance of one of their offices.
Okay.
And I thought, well, maybe, you know, I could try that, you know, and after 6 months, I was like, you know what? I feel like a zombie. Thank you for the opportunity, but I can't do this. So I kind of just, I decided, you know what? I think working for myself is going to be, if the job isn't out there, I will make the job for myself. Okay. So I basically quit that job, and then I started training clients out of, it used to previously be known as Phase Fitness. Okay. Now it's GVL or Warehouse Gym, I think. It's actually just literally on the other side of the street from where we're at. But a good friend of mine, Greg Lovato, allowed me to train clients out of there. So I trained clients for 1.5 years and then saved enough money to open up the first Surge. First Surge was 2,500 square feet in 2016. We broke a wall down in 2018, expanded to 5,000. And then in 2020, right before the pandemic in January, we moved to this one. This one's 12,000 square feet. Wow. Yeah,
So if you don't mind me asking, how much did you invest into the first Surge, the 2,500?
I don't remember exactly, and if anyone's actually genuinely interested, I actually did a little article or write-up on literally everything that I did, like leading up to opening that first little gym, including like numbers and like details with like what I bought for equipment, you know, what security costs, all these things. But I'd say it was probably 20 grand at least, 20, 25.
It's not too bad.
No, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like a crazy investment. And in the beginning, it was really nothing. It was 2 power racks, a yoke that I was using as a power rack, turf, 1 bench, 2 deadlift platforms, dumbbells, and that was basically it.
So it was like big enough for like maybe 5 people?
Yeah, it was big enough for like if 20 people were in there, it was busy.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was definitely very, very small, but I don't know how to explain it, but I always just had this vision. And it's funny because like I think 7 years ago I made a post on Facebook. It came up in my memories, and it said like, I can see surge tuning levels so vividly. Like I know this is going to become a reality, and like it did become a reality. Like I could just always see it, and it's like sometimes in life I get these weird like deja vu moments. Like almost like I already been here. Like even with my daughter sometimes, like I'm like I've been here before. I've done this before. Like just this feeling in my gut that I'm like, I'm going down the right path, you know, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing in life, because I feel happy, you know, and I feel good, you know, so, and you know, it's just weird, you know, but.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Powerlifting, so you did powerlifting for a long time. Is that what got you into powerlifting, and how did you go from being a powerlifter to now hosting some of the best meets in the country?
So I started powerlifting in college. I lifted. My father tried to get me into lifting when I was 13, and you know, honestly, I was more into trying to hang out with my friends and trying to be social. So I was like, no, I don't want to do this. And then I got into boxing, did that for 2 years at an amateur level. I was runner-up Golden Gloves in like 2007, something like that. And then I started lifting when I was 16, because I stopped boxing. I think I had a girlfriend, and I put more priority towards that, you know, and so I stopped boxing, and then I just had all this like depression and anxiety that I was just like, how do I get rid of it, you know? So I started lifting, and then basically I lifted from like 16 to like, you know, 20 years old or so, and that's when I think I met the people at the U of I that all competed. And at the time, like competitions were like very few and far in between. There weren't a lot of women competing. Like it was very much a very small niche sport. And so I signed up for my first competition. I think it was in I don't know, somewhere in southern Illinois, but I remember driving and it was like the middle of nowhere. It was just like this little building and it was just like really like sketchy, but it was a good meet. We had a good time. So that kind of got me hooked into it. And then Janelle Vector, who's a good friend of mine, I've known her since I was 16 as well, something like that.
Okay.
So she's been a lifelong friend. But she started training with the Lily Bridges over at Jacked Hardcore. So I was like, hey, do you mind like introducing me? So I went over there and then like I started slowly trying to come around, and eventually they were like, all right, fine, you keep coming around, like we'll put you in the rotation, you know. So yeah, they put me in the rotation, and then every summer I'd come back, you know, I'd lift with them, and then once I graduated, that's when I really got serious with them. And so I was training with Eric Lillybridge, Ernie, you know, Jr., Ernie Sr., at the time Derek Kendall, who was a massive fucking monster. He was a bodybuilder turned powerlifter. My biggest memory of him is him front squatting 800 pounds on a straight bar out of a power rack, you know, over at Jacked Hardcore. Yeah, we had a really good crew. Tom Callis, you know, JP Carroll's really strong. Who else was there? And then we had a lot of female lifters as well that were extremely strong. Eventually Jackie joined the team with us once we moved over to Barbell Central. And so I learned a lot from them as to what it took to like really be serious in the sport. So they took me from squatting 400 pounds at 165 to 600 pounds at 165. So I was top 10 in the country, you know, as and then one of the best juniors in reps, and then I hit a top 20 all-time, you know, squat. Like, I made that list at the time. It was Michael Song's list on Powerlifting Watch. So I felt really good about those things, and that's when I was really serious about the powerlifting, and that was that time that I was, you know, mentioning before, where it was all about, it was very like do or die, you know, especially when you're lifting with people that are all squatting, you know, almost up to 900, 1,000 on a regular basis. You know what I mean? Like we
they're not small humans.
They're not small humans. No. They're very big, and like, you know, I'm not really a big guy, so I was always trying to keep up with them, and yeah, they really pushed me. But that really got me into powerlifting. It showed me like a whole different world where I was like, wow, no one's looking at me because, you know, I am Mexican or I'm brown or this or that. They're looking at me because you know, I'm powerlifting. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like literally we're all lifting and nobody even cares where you're from, what your background is, what your religion is, like, you know, what your political ideology is. None of it matters. All that matters is, are you gonna squat or not, you know? And so, you know, I had a really good time with that, and it really started making me think, like, wow, there's something here that I think could really change the lives of a lot of people. And all through my teenage years, I was like, I wanted to do something that would change people's lives. So, you know, for a time I was really enamored with, like, you know, different revolutions, like all through Latin America, you know, like like these things where, like, you know, with these leaders like Che Guevara and all those, that, like, you know, like their goal, it was a romanticized ideology, but, you know, the idea of like changing people's lives and kind of just like creating like these, like, you know, like, I don't know, just change. And I wanted to do something like that for people where I could make them really happy. And then I always thought it'd be in politics. But then once I really got into powerlifting, I'm like, I think I can change people's lives in this way. And that's how you see a lot of the structure of Surge and what it is today, is not only from like learning how to like seriously like power lift and like how that world worked at a high elite level, but also to understanding like what it meant for other people to want to be a part of that, and how to not be a gatekeeper, because at the time it was all everything was a lot of gatekeeping. People were like, you know, oh, you're not a powerlifter, you're not a powerlifter, you know. So I wanted to open that up for other people to say, hey, you know what, it doesn't matter what you lift. If you want to power lift, you can power lift, you know. So I really wanted to encourage that, and encourage a really welcoming, you know, kind environment where everybody was really helpful, and kind of replicate what we had with Team Lillybridge, but at a bigger scale. So that's what you can kind of see now at Surge to this day. There's a lot of that influence from that. But that's kind of really what motivated me to kind of do everything that I'm doing today.
That you have today. So your gym doesn't just have powerlifting. It also has boxing. It has strongman. You have trainers there. You know, so you have a very open variety of different people that train there.
Yep.
And you got even trainers for boxing as well.
Yep.
And you got a whole boxing ring and everything.
Yes.
So how did that come about? Is it because you had boxing in your life before and you have love for it?
Yeah, so everything that you see at the gym, I've done at one point or I genuinely enjoy. And that's been always my thing too, is like when I opened the gym, I was like, this is what we are, a powerlifting gym. I'm not going to pretend to be a bodybuilding gym. Like, if people would call and they'd be like, hey, I'm looking for a bodybuilding gym. Hey, I'm sorry, you know, like, of course, you know, we would love your business, but I got to be honest with you, we're a powerlifting gym. I don't think this might be what you're looking for. Let me recommend you to my friend's gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at first that's how it was. And then eventually I got a little bit more into strongman, and Chris DeLoya, who's also been a good friend of mine for a long time. I've known him also since I was a teenager. Him and Janelle Vector, we all used to go to Ballet Total Fitness back in the day. But he started coming around, and then we really started he knew the strongman world.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, whatever you guys need, like, I'll get it, you know, and I started playing with the implements. I'm like, oh, this is pretty fun too, you know. So we kind of added the strongman area. Now it's like a fully developed area, you know, when we have some pretty, like, high level athletes that come in, like Inez is, you know, pro, so she's always coming in there and using all the equipment. But then once I kind of started coming off the powerlifting a little bit and started going back into the boxing just to kind of heal up my body a little bit. I'm very type A, very obsessive.
Okay.
So once I started getting into it, I'm like, you know what, let me just put a ring in here. Let me see if I can do it, you know?
Okay.
And people at the time were like, Serge, are you sure you want to do that? Like, I don't know, man. Like, you know, like, you really got something good going on here. Like, don't you think that's going to change things a bit? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? I see the vision. I enjoy boxing. I enjoy powerlifting. They're very similar communities. I think it'll work. And so I put the ring in. We established the boxing area. I got my coaches, and yeah, now it's its own little, like, thriving area, and it really adds to the energy of the gym. You know, just to be in an environment where everybody in there is doing something serious. You know,
True.
where everybody's in there to work. Everybody's in there to do something. Nobody's there to just kind of, like, chill and hang out. Of course, you're socializing and, like, you know, hanging out and whatever, but everybody is there to do something. You know,
That's very true. I'll add to that it's funny because we all do different things, but we're all cool with each other, and we all know each other, even though we all do completely different things, and we're all, like, impressed by each person's thing, and it's like, oh damn, you can do this. It's like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, which is pretty cool. It brings a different, you know, perspective on what you're doing. People be like, wow, this is what it looks like to lift this much weight, and then you see these young kids that are fast, and I'm like, boy, this guy can move, you know. So that's pretty cool, and it brings different energy, like you said, to the whole gym. So when you brought the boxing ring, do you have people in your circle that you ask for their opinion, or do you just have something set in your mind and you're like, all right, I'm gonna do this, I don't care what anybody thinks?
Oh, that's a good question.
I want to just do this because I think it's gonna work, and I don't care what people think. Or do you take a approach of having your mini circle or your gym members, where you're like, what do you guys think of this?
No, that's a great question. So usually my thought process behind making decisions is, number one, is it a thought that keeps reoccurring in my head?
Okay.
Like, if I think about it once, I'll be like, okay. And then if it just kind of keeps popping in my head continuously over, like, a few months span, you know, especially depending on how big of a decision it is, then I'll kind of, like, put a little more thought into it and be like, okay, well, maybe there's something to it if it kind of keeps coming up in my mind. And so usually there is, like, and that's what I've always loved about the way that I've ran my business from day one. From day one with my personal training clients, it was like, hey guys, you know, I'm gonna get this, like, what do you guys think? Oh yeah, like, get that. Okay, cool, you know. So I was even asking my personal training clients, you know, what they wanted back in the day. Always very transparent about my business and how we do things. So when it came to the boxing, I asked a lot of people, like, hey, you know, how do you guys feel about this? And, you know, I think people, it's hard. Because people don't really quite always see the vision right away.
True.
People, once something is doing well, they're like, oh, well, yeah, no, duh, it's, you know, it's going to do well. You know, but it's one thing to kind of see things, you know, ahead of the fact, you know, once you're already there. So before the fact, though, everyone's kind of like, you know, I think it'd be cool, you know, but they were kind of unsure, and I could tell. But then I kind of did some thinking, and I'm like, well, you know, I got this whole area, this whole space of unused you know, like space that I'm basically not using it for anything. So I went for it, and we kind of like, I got the ring, and then I'm like, all right, let me just play by it with the idea that if it doesn't work out, just get rid of the ring, and then we'll go ahead and we'll get other things going. But it really kicked off extremely well, and I think it was one of those things once again where I was like, I don't know why, but life led me down that road, and I got to meet the right people at the right time, and it was just like, wow, it really all came down to, you know, it came together. So yeah, now the boxing area is thriving. We got our stable of fighters, you know, we get pros that come in and out, you know. We've even had people come in for like celebrity boxing matches and stuff, so you know, that are training for that. So it's been pretty cool, you know. Like I really like it a lot. It's a fun sport.
Do you plan to host any boxing matches?
I do want to host a boxing match. I just registered the gym as a club, but like you know, if I wanted to host it, it'd be sometime this summer, and I think it's starting to get a little tight, you know, time wise. And you know, I got Doggos coming up next weekend, and then Power Surge in October. So Power Surge takes a lot of stress and a lot of mental energy from me. So I'm kind of like, do I really want to take on so much all at once? Plus, we expanded our event calendar this year dramatically, you know. I think I want to try to take it step by step and see. But ultimately, it would be cool if we could do, the powerlifting events. We've done strongman shows, then to have boxing shows, that would, all under the same roof, that would be amazing. And then I do have this idea in my head where I think ultimately it would be really cool if I could just do a full weekend of all three, where it's kind of like its own little like convention or expo, you know?
Okay.
Because the Chicago Fit Expo isn't around anymore. So, you know, something like along those lines, like a little mini convention.
Would you consider bringing a bodybuilding show into it, or would you just stick to what you have in the gym?
I think stick to what I have in the gym in the beginning. I basically want to show myself that I can be successful in the boxing show as well, so then I can put all three together. And then eventually, depending on if I can delegate, you know, that responsibility of the bodybuilding world to a person that I trust, it could be something potentially that I could get into. It's just tough, right? Because I don't want to pretend to know bodybuilding when I don't know bodybuilding. So I'll always be honest about that. Yeah.
I'll help you out with that one. So for powerlifting, are you a chairman in Illinois or for USPA?
Yeah, I'm the state chairman for Illinois, and I think that was a position I gained in 2017, something like that. Okay. Something like that, yeah.
Is that when you started hosting powerlifting meets?
Yeah. It was, you know what, maybe I may have been state chairman 2018. I think 2017 was our first meet, but actually, funny enough, in 2012, 2013, when I did my first competition, I was like, you know what, I think I can do this. And at the time, like, I had taken a class where they taught us how to run events for a whole semester. So I was like, you know, I think I can do this. So for the Alignment Powerlifting Club, I set up a charity meet. Okay. And all the profits went to the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and that continued on for a few years until I think COVID kind of messed everything up. But yeah, I did that for 2 years unsanctioned, and then it continued when I left. But then after that, we did. First Power Surge was 2017, and then after that, I kind of started hosting my own, and then adding more to the calendar, and now at least at the gym. Just having the space that we have, we're able to like host way more. So I think this year we've done like, 4 powerlifting meets, 1 strongman. We're having a deadlift only for charity next weekend. So always trying to like do things, to give back, to bring people together, to have people to have something to look forward to. Because I really do think that complacency in business, especially in a gym, is death. And like, you want to show people that you care and that you're trying. It's not enough to just have the doors open. True. It's a community for a reason. Communities need things to look forward to, and stuff like, for example, the doggos and deadlifts next weekend. Like, that's exciting. Super casual, super fun. It's unsanctioned. You raise money for dogs. You can adopt dogs on site. Like, it's super fun. So I love doing little things like that. But then, of course, I also like running the serious meets too. So Power Surge is our staple, and that's a huge meet. So this year we're giving out $10,000 in cash prizes, and that's the most I've ever given out. for that meet. But yeah, Power Surge, basically it's a labor of love. All the money that I get from it, I put back into the event.
Okay.
So this year I'll probably make 30 grand on it, and I'm gonna spend 30 grand. You know, probably 10 grand on cash prizes, another 17 to 20 on production, and then miscellaneous from there. You know, so it's just it's a lot, but I genuinely enjoy giving back to our sport and seeing people happy and seeing people enjoy themselves. I think it's a win-win for everybody.
True. I wanted to ask, so you're doing this Power Surge way different than the rest of them.
Right.
You're separating the women and the men pro days. And how did you go about that, and what do you think is, because you say you always have visions, and your visions usually come true with the way you think of things.
Right.
So how do you think that's going to be? Because I feel like you also got some backlash on that, love and hate towards both ways. And, you know, some people were like, yeah, it's cool because women get their own days, and some people are like, we don't want the separation, we want it to be the same day. So how did you feel about that, and you know, what's the overall goal of changing the days?
Well, I think after last year, I noted that there was just like, I don't know. Well, I think I ended up having only like 10, 12 women compete versus the year before that I had like closer to like 20. But then in my head, I was like, you know what? Like the sport is growing so much faster, so much bigger. There's way more women in the sport than there ever was. I'm like I want to challenge myself to make sure that I bring more women out and that I encourage more of the women to sign up for Power Surge. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go for it and just give them their own day, because I really also I had also been thinking of like adding a meet where it was like a women's only meet. And then after thinking about it, I'm like, what a better time than like Power Surge, where like, you know, you could have a day full of like some of the strongest women all over the country. So right now I think the roster's up to like 35 or so, and for pro day for all the women, and all of them are easily totaling anywhere from like 800 to 1,000 on average. All of them, you know what I mean? So you know, I think that's going to be very, very exciting and rewarding for them to be in an environment where it's extremely competitive, where it's not just like, oh, okay, it's a dozen women, like, you know, you kind of know, like, you know, who's going to win, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like 30, 40, 50 women, and it's going to be, you know, a nice competition and a nice show. So I'm really excited for that, and I think it's just one of those things where I think after the fact, people are really going to be able to see, like, wow, like, women were excited about that, like, we need to do more of these. But I want to encourage that in the sport, because I think right now all the pro days mix men and women, right, for the most part. And I can see that because, you know, like cash prizes and all of that, and honestly even production value, like I'm actually paying twice as much in production value by splitting the 2 days. You know what I mean? So that's actually costing me a lot of money. But also too, by being able to do 3 days, I'm able to bring in more income for the event that I can then spend on more of the production. So I'm able to actually make the event a lot bigger and a lot better every year. Yeah, so I'm really excited for that one for sure. Yeah.
That's dope. And you're having basically a whole production. You're having people who are going to be like announcing on the live and people announcing the meet?
Yes, it's going to be A1 Digital, who's done like Record Breakers, Ghost Clash, like all those big meets. They're basically going to go ahead and set up a professional live stream. They're going to have commentators, they're going to have like graphics, they're going to have like, you know, warm-up area footage, you know, backstage footage. So a really more immersive experience, especially for the people that can't be there in person. So we're going to have that for both men's pro day, women's pro day, and then I'll probably just set up a different live stream for amateur day, just because honestly, budget-wise, I can't do all 3 days. That would be a little tough, to manage. But yeah, no, I'm really excited for them. And a few years ago on Angelo's podcast, I had mentioned that, you know, I think it was like 3-4 years ago, I don't remember now, but I had mentioned that I really do think the path of powerlifting is gonna like go towards cash prize meets. And at the time there was very few. I think it was basically just a US Open and maybe one other one. And so I was like, you know, if we want to keep this sport growing, we have to do cash prizes. And sure enough, you know, that's kind of become the thing. But also too, I mentioned I think the production value needs to go higher. Because right now it's not really that exciting to watch,
True.
especially if you tune in, So I want it to be something where it's like, wow, like that was really exciting to watch. And I want it to become the standard moving forward, So I really do think that this is the direction that powerlifting is going towards too. And I really wanted to make sure that we offered it this year, And I think still, there's some work to be done too. But with ticket sales and stuff, you go to a meet, it's like $10 to enter.
Yeah.
I think we got to get people used to wanting to pay a little bit more for the tickets, because that's what's going to help us increase the production and the
True.
stuff towards these meets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know
$10
that,
for a ticket
American
is cheap.
Pro is up to $65-$75.
Yeah.
But
So-
that whole production, I'm excited to see what that's about, because I'm the announcer at that meeting.
Oh, nice. Good,
Yeah,
good,
so
good.
you're the one that got me into it. And now I'm getting phone calls about being
Yeah,
announcing for meet. So
Nice,
I'm
that's
excited
awesome.
for all that and
That's
to
good.
see how that production is. But after you do this meet in October, you're gonna see how it's gonna play out for you. Are you gonna change any plans, or are you gonna see how it rolls, or?
I'm gonna see how it goes, and then kind of go from there. But honestly, every year Power Surge has grown, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to continue upping the cash prizes. But I'm very happy with the fact that I've been able to grow it so organically over the past few years. And of course, having sponsors helps. But like I said, a lot of this money just comes out from my pocket. That's money that I could be putting in my pocket. Like, I don't need to technically spend this much on the production, but I am, So I think it's going to be worthwhile, and I think it's going to definitely pay off in the end to be able to kind of show that, Power Surge can continue keeping up, even though it's basically an event run by a small business. We can keep up, especially as we keep growing into the years, because maybe this year it's 10,000, next year maybe it's 12. The goal is just to kind of keep growing, depending to see how this year goes.
So you're a business owner, you do a lot of meets and stuff like that. Do you have a difficult time, trying to get help from other business people who are powerlifters, who do host meets, who have a better production for say, or pay more money? Do you ever ask for help, or do you just go on by yourself? Or how is the community with that?
The community is really good. I feel like for the most part, I always get messages. Hey, Serge, where you buy those belts? Hey, Serge, where'd you get those fog machines? Hey, and it's funny because once again in 2018, when I was like, hey guys, you think pyrotechnics or something along those lines would be cool? People were like, oh, what are you talking about? That's dumb, Like, I posted in a group somewhere, and people were kind of like shit on it basically. And now everybody's trying to do the fog machines and the lights and this and that, But yeah, people do ask, and I'm always super friendly. I'm always super helpful. And I'm not a gatekeeper, so if people have questions, I'll answer them. I'll also reach out to other people and ask them, like, hey, where'd you get this? Where'd you get that? Like the new kilo racks that we got with the wheels.
Yeah.
I got that idea from Randy over in Wisconsin. We helped him out with his first meet, and I saw them and I was like, dude, these are awesome. And they were like $250 versus, I wanted to get some ghost ones, but those were a little pricier. So I'm like, these will do, it definitely, it's definitely very much an open community, and, I really try to help all the people in the area around me. If they have questions, I'll help them out. There are some people that are a little more reserved about kind of giving you clear answers, but that's okay. Not everyone's comfortable revealing everything, and to be honest, I've probably shot myself in the foot, a few times when people literally just take what I told them and then like do the identical thing, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, okay, but that's all right. That just motivates me to do better and try harder, and that's the beauty of capitalism. That's what I always tell people. I'm like, it's a marketplace where, people pay for what they want to support, and, as long as you are offering the best that you can, and you're putting yourself to the best of your potential, then, people should follow,
I agree. Do you plan, so with everything you got going on, do you sponsor people? Do you plan on adding that to your list of having athletes that represent your gym, or, boxers or strongmen? strong women.
Yes, yes. So I have sponsored people. Eventually, I kind of want to get more seriously into actually sponsoring people. But, obviously having a baby and all that's expensive. But currently I sponsor a professional boxer out of the Czech Republic. The Czech Republic. And he's actually a Cuban national who defected from Cuba because basically politically they wouldn't let him fight for Cuba in the Olympics. And so there's actually a whole documentary about it called Sons of Cuba, where he's a child, and you could see kind of his background and how he grew up. But he went over to Czechoslovakia to fight for a boxing club, and I heard his story, and I was like, you know what, dude, I'll support you. So I'll send them money. I've bought him gloves and stuff before, and I'll send them money for like training camps, and I think he's had like 3 or 4 pro fights now. I've sponsored Inez as well. I liked Michael Colatori, for the strongman events if they travel and stuff. So I do try to give back in that sense as well whenever possible, especially when I see that people like could use the help. You know what I mean? Like I know Michael just got married and he had been saving up for that. So I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, sure, dude. I'll sponsor you and I'll help you out. But I like doing it out of the kindness of my heart. Versus like sponsoring someone just for clout. You know what I mean? Like even sometimes like if I sponsor someone, I'm just like, hey, you know what? Just tag me in a post. In a picture. It doesn't have to be anything big and. I'm not really expecting, anything.
A lot in return.
Like a huge return. I'm just doing it because I genuinely enjoy trying to do my best to help people.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's dope. So overall goals for the gym, boxing, all of that, you want to kind of, at the end of it, merge it all together. Do you ever see yourself expanding out of certain new levels to a bigger facility?
I don't know. And people always ask, like, oh, are you going to open another one? Or, this and that. I don't know if I want to get any bigger than the place we are at now because I feel like it's perfect, right? If I go bigger, first thing I have to do is I have to get more memberships, right? And so in order to do that, then I have to kind of start catering to more of your Gen Pop kind of like, demographic, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not what we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that would mean like, getting machines and like this and that. And like, I just feel like what we have right now is like perfect where, you come in and if you're a powerlifter, you're like a kid in a candy store.
True.
If you're not really sure what's going on and, with powerlifting, you might walk in and be like, I'm kind of confused, and there's always a chance though that you could still thrive in that environment if you're serious just about strength and conditioning in general. But for the person that just wants a treadmill, they're typically just walk right out the door. And it's not that I'm trying to be exclusionary or anything, but we know what we do and that's what we excel at. You know what I mean? That's just what we do. You know what I mean? So I don't think I'll necessarily like expand on that, but I have been trying to get into more like business consulting.
Okay.
So like right now I've been helping Amanda with her cookie business.
Okay.
So we set that up out of the office and first month was a huge, massive success for her. So I'm super excited for her, and it makes me excited to see that. I'm like, okay, maybe I do know a thing or two, that I can share with people. So I think eventually I want to get more into business consulting and that sort of thing, and just kind of explore different avenues. But for me, it's just about what motivates me and what makes me happy. I've come to the realization that yes, there are things that I can do to get more money. Like if I really wanted to right now, I could go back to coaching and like make money on coaching. But I've been there, I've done that, and I kind of want to try new things. So whatever motivates me and gets me going and gets me excited for the next day, I think those are the things that I'm going to follow. And I think if you're just genuinely doing things that you enjoy, everything will fall in its place.
Okay, what advice as a businessman would you give to somebody, say, for example, I want to open a gym when I go back to Michigan? What advice would you give me going into it? Would you say I should go straight into a 12,000 square feet, or should I start small and start to grow as I go?
Yeah, and I that's a good question. I always get asked that, and I always say baby steps, right? Because say you open up right out of the gate, 12,000 square feet, and say you need, call it 500 members to like really like be doing well.
Okay.
You know, it's kind of difficult to really establish yourself right off the bat, you know, because there's going to be a good amount of people that are like, oh, this is so cool, like, this is so awesome, and then that might be 100, 200 members.
Okay.
But, you know what I mean? But when you start small, you give yourself the ability to kind of build your brand over time.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you plant that seed and you let it grow over time. I think a lot of people want to skip that process, you know, instead of planting their seed and watering it, because the work that you put in today, you probably won't see until tomorrow, the next month, the next year sometimes. You know, sometimes I'll get people that are like, I've been following you since day one and I finally got a chance to stop in, and it's like, wow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's easy to want to buy a very nice expensive vase, stick the seed in there and forget to water it, you know what I mean? Or not have enough water to be able to give it. So I feel like baby steps, whatever that might be for a person, you know, for me at the time, you know, right out of college, etc., a 2,500 square foot building was a baby step for me. Maybe it's 5,000 for somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as long as you have room to be worst case scenario, you have like a fallback option or you have a survival option.
Okay.
Because there's not always a guarantee that you're gonna attract as many people right off the get go.
True.
You know, but as the word of mouth spreads, then there's more potential for that there.
So you have your name is very known everywhere in the States, kind of even in the world. You got sponsored boxers outside of the States, which is really cool. Do you plan to host meets outside of Illinois, or is Illinois always going to be it for you?
I think right now I enjoy what I'm doing, you know, and I think if the right opportunity came around, I would be interested in doing it. But there are meet directors that literally, like, they have their trailer and they drive from state to state just hosting meets and meets and meets, you know? Eventually, maybe that might be something worth looking into or of interest. But for me right now, I think with, you know, running a gym, running, you know, not only these meets but other events, you know, being a new father, I think I'm good where I'm at, and I'm gonna try to kind of see like how this year goes, you know, because every expansion too has cost us a lot of money, you know. So I really want to be able to like find a sweet spot where I'm like, wow, now I'm really ahead, you know. Like I'm in a comfortable place right now, but I want to try to see what that means for me when I finally get ahead, and what motivations drive me, you know, because that'll create those new projects for me.
That's dope. And we talked about everything from your family life to business to gym to school, but one thing that people don't know is who Serge is, and what are your personal goals as Serge, the person, not Serge the gym owner, you know, that everybody knows.
More recently it's been to get back into lifting, and like I said, for years, like I lifted and it became a love-hate relationship. It became very frustrating towards the end. And at one point I thought I was just done. You know, that's why I started the boxing. I love the boxing. It's a lot of fun. I'm still going to continue to do it. But I think right now my goal is to let me see what I can do again. You know, I pulled that 550 at one time, you know, without really deadlifting in a few years. So I was like, all right, you know, that's not bad. But then, of course, like I kind of tore my tricep recently, taking the slack out of the deadlift bar, out of all things. You know, I squatted 500 the other day. So I was like, all right, you know, it just feels good to kind of like...
Still have it.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but like when you're just holding onto that bar and you're just staring at it, and you're just like, you just fucking feel alive. Like, you're just like, I want to fucking attack this bar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, when you hit it, there's just like that rush. Like, boxing is fun. It's nice, you know, when you dodge someone's punch, when you hit someone in the face. Like, you know, that's cool and all, but like, just the aggression of like the lifting is just like, there's nothing.
I couldn't agree more.
There's nothing else like it. You know, it's just this rush of endorphins that you get from it. So, so yeah, my goals are to get stronger, but honestly, just staying active and healthy are probably what I really want to focus on too. Because I'm 30 years old now, and things are hurting that didn't hurt before. So yeah, just trying to stay healthy.
Is it true when you cross 30, things start to hurt more?
I don't know. Apparently, I mean, I don't know. Bodyworks did a good job at fixing me up a little bit. Like my right knee, like dude, I was like amazed that they even healed it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the PRP on my shoulder, I'm like, I regained my mobility. I can actually get underneath a squat bar. So maybe I just didn't take care of myself. So probably the better you take care of yourself in your 20s, the longer you can keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. I don't want to take too much of your time. I feel like we talked about anything else you want to say that, want to talk about real quick.
No, I think that's it. I just want to say I appreciate you putting me on the podcast. And,
for sure. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Yeah.
Any platforms other than Search to New Levels you want to shout out?
Yeah, you can follow us on the Instagram, the Facebook, and then those are basically the biggest places. If you're looking for like updates on anything, just follow us on Instagram. We post everything there. All our events and stuff. So and all our partnerships. So yeah, thank you guys.
Cool.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Thank you for coming. Hopefully we'll have you on after the October Artist Surge.
Yep.
And hopefully that's a success and we'll get to sit down and talk about it.
Yep.
Appreciate you again, Serge.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff everybody does, and show us the support. Hopefully we can get everybody on here and just bring a different light to everybody that doesn't have that big of a platform, even though Serge does have a big platform. But you never get to hear his opinions, his mind, and everything he wanted to talk about. And I feel like we kind of hit that. And hopefully you guys can learn a thing or two. I totally learned a thing or two. And hopefully maybe I can have a gym like Search to New Levels and I can be as competitive. Appreciate you, Serge.
All right. Thank you.